But that's what this book is. It's a collection of, I would say, my top 10 list of helpful things I learned as an astronaut that resonated with the audience most.
I love that application. And one of those things, one of your top tens is something that you refer to as the 30-second rule. Now, for
Mm.
someone who's unfamiliar with what that is, can you explain the 30-second rule?
A little background on that is that I make a lot of mistakes, Drew, and so does everybody. And we don't mean to make mistakes
Yeah.
or mess up or, just do, oh man, I can't believe I did that. Now, if I could only live that one over, just feeling bad about what happens. And sometimes I found myself as an astronaut, I didn't want to mess up. I don't want to make any mistakes, but I found myself kind of getting really mad at myself, and in my training in the simulator and working in the pool, we train underwater for our spacewalks and big spacesuits. And so a lot of it was hands-on, and you'd break something or you'd forget something, you just mess something up, make a mistake. And I felt terrible about it, but it happens to everybody. And so it's not so much trying to avoid mistakes. I mean, you try to do that, but it's also how do you deal with a mistake once you make it. I was in a simulator and made a mistake and learned this from a guy named CJ Sturkow. He said, give yourself 30 seconds of regret. He called it, I think, 30 seconds of remorse. He was a Marine pilot. He called it give it 30 seconds of remorse and move on. I also spoke to my friend Megan MacArthur about this. We were talking about making mistakes. I flew in space with her, and we both adopted CJ's principle, which is when you make a mistake, no matter how bad it is, you have to move on from it. People say, let mistakes pass, move on, don't ruminate in it. But how do you do that? And that's when you employ the 30-second rule. So this is a 30-second rule, Drew. You make that mistake and you just say to yourself, that is the stupidest mistake I've ever made. Give yourself a 30-second timeout. And it really helped me on the Hubble Space Telescope. I stripped a bolt on the telescope. We didn't know if we were going to be able to recover and fix the telescope that day. It was the easiest thing to do on the whole day. It was just removing this one bolt that was an easy bolt. And I messed it up. And now we had to figure out a way to get around it. And it was terrible. And so what I did was I knew I had to move on. We had to try to figure out a solution and move on. So I employed the 30-second rule. I beat myself up for 30 seconds. You are the worst astronaut ever, Mike. How could you? Why did they even select you? Why did they give you this job? You should have just stuck to the easy stuff. This is the dumbest thing you've ever done. You've set astronomy back for centuries. Your legacy is going to be that we would know the age of the universe, but you broke the Hubble Space Telescope and we'll never. And don't vocalize any of this stuff, though, Drew. You want to keep it to yourself. Keep it in turn because you'll scare people if they hear it. So just keep it to yourself. And that's what I did. I gave myself a 30-second rant. And then after that, 30 seconds is up. Time's up. And get it all out of you in that 30 seconds. And then it's time to move on because your team needs you. You don't have, sometimes before I was an astronaut, I would find myself ruminating on things like for a whole day or a week or even, oh man, this is terrible. And you don't have a whole day or even a minute in space to be upset and not functioning at the highest level you can be at. And so I had to learn how to leave those things in the past. And that really helped me. The 30-second rule really helped me. And it helps me every day here on Earth because I still make a lot of mistakes, Drew.